Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Triple Option Podcast. I'm your co-host Trun Duglu, along with Abby Dingery and Nate Autry. Today we talk about the stunning game that was Florida versus Utah. What the game will say about the future season. Does it, what does it say about Napier's future at Florida, potential successes, and today we'll have Nate going over that game. So let's hop right into it.
Yeah, so going into this week, some people predicted this as to be like an underrated game, as Florida was kicking off the Billy Napier era against number seven ranked Utah, who finished their season last year with an exciting game in the Rose Bowl against Ohio State, which they lost. But they're coming to this year, number seven nationally, looking to make a splash in the Pac-12. And obviously, you have Florida, an SEC team who's had lots of success in the past, looking to return to their former prominence. From the start of the game, the atmosphere from the swamp was electric. I think the total attendance for this game was over 90,000. And you could tell the first play of the game, Florida ran a read option, and Anthony Richardson tucked it and ran for like 40 yards. And Florida fans just immediately, I think this game was at like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and it sounded like a night game. It was absolutely electric. And like despite that early momentum, I think Florida fumbled on the first drive, and Utah ended up getting settled in. They scored first. And the first half was kind of back and forth as both quarterbacks in this game like ended up performing well. Obviously, as the game went on, they went back and forth. It was a good game all the way through, and the game ended with a really exciting ending. Florida scored with a minute 25 left, and then Utah got the ball back and drove all the way down the field, getting to the 2 yard line with 27 seconds left. And then on the last play of the game, essentially, Utah went like through a short post or short slant into the end zone, and a Florida player intercepted it in the end zone for a touchback, ending the game at 26-29 Florida. Um, to go over some of the better players, like offensively for this game, it was a really good quarterback battle. Both Anthony Richardson and Cameron Rising played very well, which help keep this game exciting and interesting. Anthony Richardson was 17 for 24 through the air for 168 yards, but more importantly, he had 11 carries for 106 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, he was decently successful through the air, but his legs enabled him to just absolutely tear apart a Utah team who's known for having a decently good defense. He also had, in my opinion, the biggest play of the game when he had a 45-yard touchdown rush right after stepping out of a sack. He also finished the game with a 94.8 QBR. On the other side of the ball for Utah, the returning senior, Cameron Rising, went 22 for 32 for 275 yards, a touchdown interception, and he was practically a bell cow of a running back with 23 carries for 115 yards and a touchdown. So despite Utah losing, Cameron Rising played one hell of a game. Super gritty performance, 90 QBR, and just 23 carries is an unreal amount for a quarterback. And to show that he only got 115 yards, show he really worked for that. So yeah, I think both these quarterbacks performed really well in this game, and they really made this game a lot more interesting than it could have been. You guys
Yeah,
got any questions? Yeah.
I, um, let's see. How do you think how do you think Florida's offense in this game would will reflect how they play in the SEC itself? Because obviously there's a lot of criticism of the Pac-12 and how it performs in out-of-conference play. So I know this is more of a general question rather than specific about the offense. But how do you think a win like this reflects Florida's potential performance later in the season? Because I know there's a lot of people that will claim that the SEC is often overranked when it's ranked in the top 15, as we saw two SEC teams, ironically, Florida's rival Georgia, demolished Utah and Oregon, respectively. So, how do you
Yeah.
think this reflects Florida's future this season specifically?
Yeah, so I think obviously like one thing you compare about or just to establish a difference is that while you look at Georgia and they have a lot of talent, they don't necessarily need to have like a great quarterback, whereas you look at Florida and they seem to have finally resolved their quarterback problem. As you know, last year they were constantly splitting between Emory Jones, who somehow managed to keep starting despite Anthony Richardson flashing last year, and obviously Anthony Richardson, who flashed a lot last year but would never start and then would only get played sometimes. And this year, Anthony Richardson has the keys to the Florida offense, and I think he really showed it. His ability through the air and on the ground. I mean, were absolutely game changing. And as long as you have a good quarterback in the SEC, most of the time you can succeed, especially with a program like Florida, who will at the very least have 4 stars and at running back and wide receiver backing them up. So I think, such a strong performance from Anthony Richardson bodes well for the Florida going in through the rest of this year.
Yeah. I'm honestly just surprised they gave him number 15. I thought that was retired already.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean, he certainly owned up to the number in his performance in this
Yeah.
game. So I guess I'll move on to the defensive MVPs for this game. Um, on Utah's side, I think Cole Bishop was an impact player. He had 12 tackles, like 7 solo tackles, and he had half a tackle for a loss. And he was just constantly in the mix. He's a linebacker who plays. He's a little undersized, but 12 tackles and 7 solo tackles shows that he hustles and he's a ball. He's just he just always around the ball. So yeah, he helped a Utah team which was decently successful and only got gashed a couple times on big plays. And the other side of the ball, obviously, I think this is most obvious at least. Amari Burney for Florida State, the DB, 7 tackles, 6 solo tackles, and most importantly, the game-winning interception in the end zone against Utah to secure the win. You guys have any questions regarding that
Yeah.
or anything else for the matter? Just
No.
this game in general.
Yeah, I guess not really questions, but just the finish to that game, man. Like, I think one, I thought it was a bad throw on Rising's part because I know the tight end fell down, but the placement seemed out of place to begin with. I honestly thought Utah would have. I get why they're going for the end zone, but I think they're. I think they made the mistake almost having like an NFL mindset going into it, if you know what I mean. Where overtime in the NFL and college football, while I absolutely despise the new rules, where was the alternate 2 point conversions, but I still think I don't get why Utah took such a risk with a pass in the end zone. I don't know if they had timeouts or not, but
I think the contributing factor to that was that they got the ball back on that drive. That minute drive lasted a minute. They went 69 yards, and I think every single play on that drive was a completion by Cameron Rising. So you look at it as they've gone the entire way down the field relatively successfully passing. And so, in the mind of Utah, they're just thinking, well, this has worked. Why would it not work? And, on the other side of the ball, you see Florida made a really good call of, like I said, putting their linebackers in zone, knowing that they're not going to run the ball, and then coming up with that big interception like that they did.
yeah, but you also have a big strong running back in Tavion Thomas. You're close to the end zone. You don't get
Yeah.
you kick the field goal, you go to overtime. I just don't see what Whittingham was trying to do. Like I see what he's trying to do, but I didn't get why, if that makes sense. Like I get overtime might be annoying, especially in the swamp with the Florida team that clearly has all the momentum at this moment. But it didn't seem like the right move to me.
Yeah. I'm trying to look up right now how many timeouts Utah had because I know they had about 20 seconds left. So obviously, like running it there is very risky
Yeah,
if you
that's what
don't
I'm
have any
questioning. If
timeouts.
they didn't have timeouts, I completely understand. But if it had a timeout, that's when it gets a little
They did not have timeouts. I just checked. They did not have
okay.
timeouts. So
Fair.
22 seconds left, no timeouts on the 6 yard line. I think
Okay,
throwing it's a
yeah, that's
relatively good idea.
yeah,
And
that's
they were,
fair
I
then.
think they were throwing to Brandon Keith. I think Brandon Keith, who was
Yeah,
throughout
who's
that
really
game, had
fire.
just been, yeah, he had just been absolutely converting that entire game. I mean, he had at least like 3 or 4 like clutch third down, first down receptions.
Thing is,
So
like, one the ball placement I thought wasn't great. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I
when it
mean,
comes down to it, it's just a great play by the defense. I'd say
yeah, it was.
you watch it, it's like he's stepping in from the inside on a post route that's cutting inside. So I mean, quarterback's not
Yeah.
always going to see that, especially when he's trying to rush and do like a 1 minute drill. So I don't know. It's just overall very exciting to finish to the game. Abby, you
How
got
do
any
you,
questions?
So
Just curious.
oh, obviously this was a really big win for Florida. I was just wondering, how do you feel that this win will carry them forward during the season? Because I know they're definitely in very tough SEC East outside of like Georgia, so it's definitely not like a playoff team. But how well do you think Florida can do with this win?
think this is huge for them, honestly, because again, Utah was ranked number 7 coming into this game, so for them to be able to start the season off with such a massive challenge, start off Billy Napier's head coaching tenure at Florida with such a big win, really just like sets the tone for what they're gonna be under Napier. And again, here they were just kind of very down in it. They struggled mightily against teams they shouldn't have. So for them to come out with just a big statement win will hopefully give them confidence throughout the SEC and throughout, like, hopefully they'll shred their non-conference schedule, go to the SEC, and who knows, maybe they even become a contender in the SEC East.
Yeah. Is the last thing before we wrap this episode though. It was a rough week for the Pac-12. Like your top two teams that played any sort of significant game, Utah and Oregon, both get smoked by the SEC. Quite simply, I don't think Utah got smoked, but they definitely got upset. And Oregon, I don't think everyone expected Oregon to win, but I think people expected Oregon to compete. So
Yeah, it's. Oh, my bad. I cut you off.
I don't know. I think it's just interesting how the Pac-12 is all the conferences, especially the Pac-12, because say the Big Ten and even the Big 12 have, I think they have a bit more respect just because they've had a team in recent times that's been able to be dominant, like or have been close to domination, like Ohio State or Oklahoma. But I don't think the Pac-12 has had that team since like '05 SC, and I think it's interesting how they're still kind of finding. Or not, no, I'd say 13-14 Oregon probably, yeah. But like, it's definitely
Yeah,
been
I
a
was about to
while.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for them to lose teams they have ranked 11 and in the top 10
And they're
in the
losing
first
both their
week.
like
But I mean, again, I think I saw a statistic that like Pac-12 hadn't won a bowl game the past 2 years, which is just absurd to think about. But I mean, I guess this weekend really just showed that SEC is still king. I mean, they go 13-1 in their openers. We won't talk about LSU right now, but yeah,
yeah.
kind of just shows who the big boys in college football still are, at least right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, I'd say that about wraps it up for this episode. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you made it this far in the video. It helps us out a lot. If you check out our channel, we got content over for college football, which we'll be releasing a lot more in the following weeks. We also got some NFL and USFL content. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.